Hello, this is Andrea from OurDayDream, and today's special guest is Derrick LaFrenier. He guides people in the conscious creation of their lives to live by their design. So without further ado, I will welcome in Derrick. Hello.
How are you?
Fantastic.
That is wonderful to hear.
Yeah. I was watching like a lot of your videos this morning, so I'm very consciously aware right now.
Were you just very bored?
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Yeah. So you do speak much on consciousness in your videos. And so what is consciousness to you?
We are consciousness. Our existence is based on consciousness. God is consciousness. Imagination is God. So we work with the power of thought. Thought is consciousness. It is all that which is within us. It is sort of a field, a realm, a plaything, if you will. When you learn to enjoy it as a plaything and understand its true power, it becomes far more enjoyable. We tend to take it all too serious, and it ruins everything for everyone. Because really, it's not that serious. And believe me, I've been through my experiences, so I'm not coming from this ignorant state of like, oh, all is bliss and good. I mean, I think that way because that's how I want my life to evolve. I want to see and enjoy the beauty and love and splendor in all things. So my ability to do that is my ability to get into consciousness, into the field, and just play with it as I choose. So that's really all it is. We can expand on it if we want to, but that won't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
The more knowledge we have of it is just an intellectual understanding. I don't want people to have an intellectual understanding. No, I do. But what I mean by that is intellectual understanding will not give me the new results I want in my life. I want you to emotionally understand it. And we either emotionalize something through fear or through pleasure. I don't want the fear aspect anymore in my life.
Right.
So I awaken it with the joy of living because the option of either side is there. They're always both going to be there. So I choose to live with it joyfully. And that emotionalizing of that to which we want will then bring it forth. Because everything around you, every single thing that you do is in consciousness. It was once in someone's imagination. The home you're in was in someone's imagination. They put it on a blueprint and then boom, you're in it.
I love that.
The way we're communicating was in someone's imagination. And here we are using it. So you have the ability to alter your life to any way you choose to live it. Now, I used to live a life that was more aggressive. There were lots of drugs, alcohol, homelessness became involved in that. Wasn't the best of experiences, although I loved being able to experience all those things. They brought me to where I am today. And then one day I was like, this isn't right. And then obviously I went through much of a different path altogether.
Right. I was just talking to my son about that last night, my 9-year-old, because we were all rather cranky last night, and I was like, it's a choice as to whether or not we want to be sad or whether or not we want to be angry, or whether or not we want to be happy. He's like, how is that a choice? I said, well, we choose to be sad. He's like, but I don't want to be sad. I just am sad. And I'm like, well, we choose to allow things to make us sad. But it was really hard for me to verbalize that. You know what I mean? It's like
I
you
do.
have a choice to do that. And a lot of, it just shows like how young that's coded into our minds. Like it's not a choice. We're totally a victim of our circumstances.
Right. Everything is a choice. When I work with my clients, I go through something that I'm going to show you here in a minute, the stick
Oh, that's
person,
awesome.
which is a beautiful way to show how we operated. Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1935 produced the stick person. He was a chiropractor who was into holistic healing. So he created a diagram to help us. So I use this. But there are three fundamentals that are important for us to understand. These are quantum physics at its core. It is uncritical self-observation. So it is self-observation, however, uncritical. A definition of aim, so that is a goal, somewhere for us to aim towards. And then detachment. Now, this isn't detachment like Hindu detachment, where I'm going to completely detach from all. That's a beautiful thing. If you love doing that, I love it. Go do it. However, for this, most people want to stay in the ego realm. There's nothing wrong with that. Ego is not a bad thing. It's understanding what ego is, the field you're playing on, the level or awareness in consciousness that we're on. We are human beings. We play on an ego field. So when my subconscious speaks to me, so your child is talking about a sad thought arises. So he's become consciously aware that a sad thought has arisen. So through uncritical self-observation, he's aware of this. And this is the moment we detach from that feeling. And then the definition of aim, we awaken a higher frequency, a new attitude, a state which we wish to acquire, and that state is within us, and we awaken that state now. We're simply turning the frequency on the radio dial. We're tuning in to a new frequency or station we want to be emotionally involved with. So when we first do it, it came from his subconscious, and now he's thinking of it. So I want to awaken the goal, the new goal for him to think about. So he's bringing up a new idea in imagination. So in our imagination, we have the ability to accept or reject ideas. We can create new ideas and think thoughts that we want to think.
I love that.
Being a child is we still are in tune with our imagination. I have to teach adults to do it.
You're right.
So here, now I want us to emotionalize it, because everyone simply intellectualizes it. They leave it here. And they go, why am I not achieving this? Because you're leaving it here. We want to emotionalize it. I want to awaken it with feelings. I want to immerse it with the beauties and joy of living, the passion I have for what I'm bringing forth. How is it I truly want to feel right now? And awaken that, emotionalize it. That's going to bring the body into vibration, cause an equal and opposite reaction based on that vibration, and bring that new goal into my world. So we control this. However, in our subconscious mind, we have an old energy field, a paradigm that dictates how we think and feel. Our reason comes from what's going on in our subconscious mind. So we're going to think thoughts based on our old way of thinking. So when this arises, we'll call it our current goal that's floated up into our consciousness. I want to detach from that. And I want to awaken the new, that I'm bringing in, and then bring it in, and just keep doing that. It's a repetition over and over and over, bringing it to life, refueling it, and making it my vibration. And then that vibration will cause an equal and opposite reaction, continuing newer, grander, better results of that to which I'm acquiring in life. And this is in any field of what you're doing. So if you're dealing with addictions in life, addictions are something that's going on in the subconscious. You are not sick forever. You are momentarily in that state, and it can be altered. It is not a forever thing. Although those are beautiful teachings that we go through, because I did use those, so I'm not knocking them down. Use them properly. We can heal from all experiences. Anything that you say after I am, it better be the most beautiful, loving expression of God within you that you could possibly imagine. Because if you are saying other than, you are keeping that alive in your subconscious, which keeps it alive in your body, keeps it alive in your environment. Going and surrounding yourself with people who stay sick will keep you there, unless you know how to go in and make everyone else there want to be healthy.
I totally agree.
That's something I do.
Yeah. I say it all the time. I'm like, I love the NA and the AA. I love the spiritual principles. I also love the brothership, and you have people there for you all the time. And I love the idea of having a sponsor, because a sponsor is somebody there that, you know, you can talk to anytime that you need somebody. But at the same time, I'm like, to wake up every day and to constantly pound into my head, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict. As soon as things start hitting the fan, you know what I mean? Like, the first thing you're gonna think of, oh, that's right, I'm an addict. You know, and that's what I do. I screw things up. And so there was somebody that had brought up a couple months ago, and he's like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm in recovery. I'm like, why are they not doing that in the NA and AA? Because it's like the recovery is like the positive aspect of it. It's like, I'm recovering. I want a better life. I'm striving for better things and better goals.
Right. I'm going to take a quick step back and go to the I Am. Read I Am Discourses by Saint Germain. The I Am Discourses will tell you all about I am. It's a beautiful way. It's something I've read for a year straight. I read it every single day. And it's a book. It's not, you don't read the whole book in a day. It takes you a little bit. And then the recovery or recovered, I don't even say those anymore. I don't utilize those in my thought processes. I am completely healed. So they aren't even a part of my thinking. When people come and say something, I have to remind myself, oh yeah, I went through a time like that in my life, because I stopped feeding it.
Yeah.
So it makes it no longer a want for it in my life. You have such a growth and development and a love for life, you no longer want to introduce things that are unhealthy for that.
Right.
You no longer thirst for it, because drinking would have been my thing. Even though cocaine and ecstasy, they brought me to the brain damage, the alcohol did the most work.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one that I went back to. The other ones were easy for me to just let go, you know, but it was releasing that connection that there was something wrong with me.
Yeah. And that's what I think that's what they spend a lot of time doing, is letting them see that there's something wrong with them. But I like to like relay it. It's like, everybody's going through this. They're just fighting it in different ways, shapes, or form. Like you're not different from the person that sits at home beating the crap out of his wife because he can't deal with himself. You know, like, you're not different from the person that just lays in bed for a week. Like, we're all dealing with these things. Just because we're not drowning ourselves you know, everybody's dealing with their own thing. So, and I hate for them to think like there's something wrong with me rather than like, you're just human.
Well, it's actually exactly the opposite. Everything is right with them. They're
Yeah.
doing everything correctly, just they're focusing it in the wrong
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Because I utilize crackheads or coke heads when I talk to my entrepreneurs all the time,
They're
because
creative.
if when a crackhead has a $500 a day addiction, they come up with $500 a day.
Right. Yeah.
When I'm talking to my entrepreneur who's like, I'm a business person, I'm like, well, how much are you earning a day? And they're telling me, I'm like, well, then that you're no. So I
Yeah.
use the same principle. You're doing a phenomenal job, just in the wrong
Right.
direction.
Right.
So let's
Yeah.
awaken your talents over to something that you actually love doing. I mean,
Right.
we have to remove the other processes first. It's not an instantaneous shift.
Right.
For one thing, that will destroy the nervous system. We have to do a gentle guide to reduce all the weight of everything that's going on subconsciously. Just imagine looking at the base of a tree and you're seeing the roots go out to everything. We have to start pruning all of those subconscious connections that go to the feelers of the addiction per se. Once we stop giving life to the seed, now we can plant a new seed and then nurture it with the same understanding that they know how to go after and get something. So it's not a one-day switch by any means whatsoever.
But they quickly build back up again. Like they'll go from nothing to everything so
Right.
rapidly whenever they focus in that direction, for sure.
Exactly. It's just reintroducing the right way of thinking towards what they want.
Yeah.
Because it's no different. You're focused on what you want. So a person who's focused on the growth of their business, that's what they're focused on.
Yeah.
They keep doing productive activities continuously. They change their subconscious to only focus on that to which they're developing. And that's all the subconscious knows how to do. The subconscious is completely deductive. It does what it's programmed to do, and it can be reprogrammed at any time. So we first programmed our subconscious to believe that we're addicts and that this is how our life's going to be. So that's how we just accept it. We just move in that direction. Like, well, this is my lot.
Right.
These are the cards I was dealt.
Yeah.
No, they're not. You were dealt a hand. Guess what? You can get redealt a hand.
Yeah.
You are the creator of how your life is supposed to be expressed. You aren't the creator of life. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your life. You are the creator of your life. How do you want it to be? So there's the author, the producer, the director, and the actor in a screenplay. So you need to be the producer. I have a new idea. Then you have to be the author. You have to write what that new idea is. Then you have to be a director. All right, here's what's going to happen. And then you have to start acting that way. Once you learn to do those things in consciousness, playing in the field, the theater of your mind, and bringing that which we awaken in our imagination into our conscious awareness, and then keep pushing it over and over and over again into our subconscious, we then change our vibration. We change the way we behave.
Right.
So to change your behaviors, you have to go to what causes my behaviors. Once you learn that, your paradigm or self-image, your self-image is in your subconscious mind. Once you change your self-image, so I changed my self-image from one that brought me in that other direction. And I was like, oh no. And I brought myself in a whole nother direction. And now I keep honing that. So we never have self-image is just a thing. A paradigm is just a thing. It's a multitude of habits. So when you see a person standing on a podium holding up an award, that's their paradigm, that's their self-image. When you see someone else delivering trash, that's their paradigm, that's their self-image. Neither one is better than the other one.
Right.
They're just achieve different lifestyles, and either one can alter it at any time.
Right. I think about like a lot of self-help books will be like, just think positive, or there's like all these memes out there on Facebook, just think positive. And for a long time, probably about a year and a half, I was like sitting there and a negative thought would come up because I have a long background of depression. And so a negative thought would come into my mind and I'd be like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. And you have to be positive. But I think that what I was really truly missing is that instead of beating myself up, I just needed to take a different step and then commend myself for that.
Right. What I learned it years ago, but I learned it I studied a lot of Buddhism and neutrality. So neutrality is by far the best place to be. Neutrality allows you an open space of awareness. You are fully aware of all that is going on. You heighten all that is happening within you because you are staying neutral. Because energy is neither positive nor negative. We activate the polarity within us. So when you have an emotional state come up, the sadness, the depression, the anxiety from ignorance, it's a whole nother topic. Once that arises, I feel it. I'm uncritical of that feeling. So I detach from that. Right now, I'm in a state of neutrality. When I'm in a state of neutrality, I'm not fueling it with emotions because emotions will color what we're trying to produce or hear. So I can mishear someone because I'm off coloring it with my emotions, good or not good. So I want to be neutral so I can fully absorb what is being said to me. Then I awaken the positive aspects of it. So I go positive. I'm not removing positive from it. But what I'm doing is I'm maintaining a state of neutrality until I receive the information necessary for me to make the correct decision. Then alter in my imagination that which I need to bring into my subconscious to make my subconscious move my body into action. Because if I only intellectualize it, my body won't move. I have to submerge it into my subconscious mind. So detach from the negative, go neutral, awaken what is the next plan. So if you're an athlete, going neutral is the absolute best when you're on the field. The plays have already occurred. The scoreboard is what it is. You're not changing what has happened in the past. You're going with the next play. That is all you're focused on. So you get neutral, you release all that was holding you back from the last play. You know what the next play is, you perform it. So get neutral, awaken the new idea, then emotionalize it.
Right. And that could be super powerful in procrastination. Which I have a huge problem with, is procrastination. But another thing that I think about in designing the life that you want is, how do you know if whenever you're actually designing the life that it's actually aligned with who you are?
Well, you have to become aware of who you are. And who you are is not what you've been programmed to be. So start looking at what are your core values. The issue that we're going to have is when I ask you what your core values are, you're going to give me your first response, which is your subconscious reaction of what you've been programmed to tell me. And I'm going to laugh at you on purpose. I want to annoy you, because that slight annoyance is going to get you to think. Because if you're comfortable, you're not going to think. I want to force you to start to think. Like, no, honestly think. When was the last time you sat and said, how do I truly feel about this? And then when you hear your initial subconscious speak to you, you have to ask yourself some serious questions. Do I have sound beliefs for this belief? Like, do I have sound reason for this? How was this put into me? And now most people are going to say the religion that their parents programmed them with. Now, I know you're a very religious person, but those are programmed into you. You are not born that way. God is not a religion.
Right.
And so we have to dissolve all of that and then study the beauty of a religion.
Right.
Study.
I think religion's sort of like, I'm going to abide by this certain means, and then that's the only concrete truth that exists in life. So to contradict that, I'm kind of, I like to read into Buddhism and stuff like that too. Like, I like to read into all different types of things. And I think being a seeker of knowledge is the only way to really thrive in life, you know?
Right. Well, that's the beauty of studying all religions.
Yeah.
Is you
It
look
all has
for,
something to teach you.
right, let me open up my heart. Let me understand I don't know everything at all.
Right. Yeah.
I don't.
Right.
I have good values. I have great understanding, but I'm open-minded and I'm tolerant. What does tolerance mean? It means I'm going to hear your opinion that is completely different than mine, and I'm
Right.
going to listen to it. And I'm going to say,
Right.
is there anything in this that I need to hear that will allow me to be better in life and living?
Yeah.
Because what you're saying isn't incorrect, and what I'm saying isn't correct. Like,
Right.
it's not a black and white thing. Just because I am where I am does not make what I know the only way to be.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's just not.
Right.
No, I live an absolutely beautiful life. I want you to live your own absolutely beautiful life. And that is when you awaken, well, what do I truly believe? What do I want my life to be expressed like? Not what did my parents program me to believe that this is the way it's going to be, because they programmed you to believe that, and then that ended up being the case. So you can have the core values of love, respect, honor, dignity, and then grow your life through that. Because the principle of the thought will move the entire life of the thought. So with all my clients, whenever we're building something, the principle, everything that we do has to be of love. Because when you step back and you're creating the image of how you want to go through all things, get into that moment of love. Wait a minute. What is the best outcome for all parties involved? And then I bring that into this growth and development of whatever I'm doing. Because I have a lot of clients who are going through divorces. There's a narcissist involved, and they always want to talk about the narcissist. And I'm like, no. We have to go into the field within ourselves.
Yeah.
When we think of that person has gone through something that brought them there. We don't want to hurt them where they are. We're hurting right now where we are, we're blaming that on them. They're a part of the process, but we're responsible for how we feel. We have to take ultimate responsibility for ourselves. If you want to fight a narcissist on a narcissist playing field in a court of law, you're going to lose because they're playing on a field you don't know how to play on. So do you want to know how to beat them in there? Go into the mind field. Awaken in the beauty of imagination. God is imagination. So if I go into God, my connection with Source, and I awaken, what is the best outcome for all parties involved? I went to love. I went to seeing all parties involved loving the outcome, especially when there are children involved.
I love that.
And now we operate from a whole different space in consciousness.
Yeah.
Once you do all the work correct in consciousness, it changes the field, then the field changes around you. You can't change the field unless you change your consciousness.
Right. And this narcissist epidemic, which is really hot in the spiritual communities, it's like everybody's a narcissist that disagrees with them.
Yeah,
But
it's sad.
I see it all the time, and I'm just like, I'm like, all right, so if you're blaming them for being a narcissist, you're not taking responsibility for the relationship that you have put yourself in. And then next thing you know, I'm going to see you on social media a couple weeks later saying, everybody, like, why do I attract so many narcissists? I'm just a magnet for the narcissist. Yeah. And I'm just like, if you're not taking responsibility for yourself and you're instead blaming them, you're now held captive to that same repetition of lesson upon lesson. So you're definitely going to see a narcissist in your next relationship for sure. It's going to happen.
Fully expressed. You said that well.
Yeah. So yeah.
True. Yeah, no, it's our programming. So your relationships are going to be based on your subconscious programming, your paradigm. So if you want better relationships in your life, you have to change your self-image on what your self-image perceives as relationships for you. So if those are the terms that come to mind, then those are what need to be reprogrammed in mind. Not the persons.
Right.
I see people do posts all the time. Let me show you how to see a narcissist. Wow, you're just wasting all your energy. You're just going to continue to attract that same type of person because now all you're focusing on is that type of person.
Right.
Ridiculous. It's an absolute waste.
I hate that word. Just like, and I hear it so very much anymore. And I'm just like, with society being in the disarray it is with concerning like relationships, like most children are in single parent households, like relationships don't last, divorces, are more common than marriages. So it's like, at some point we have to take this more seriously. You know what I mean? We have to take this more seriously and take responsibility.
The point is now, because everyone is separating every person. So you would use the term the devil. So the devil has progressed in separating family. Once you separate family, everything else goes away. So it began with the husband being away working to support the family, but the husband would come home and there would still be unity within the family. There were rules, regulations, culture, and community within the family. And then the family worked in the community, and the families of the community grew the community. Mm-hmm. And then we came up with another movement that was separates now the men and the women. So now we're separating families entirely. So children are growing up with both parents away, most of the time a single family entity. So there's no family core at home, allowing that family values to grow, making a better community, making a better
Right.
world. So once that's been separated, which it already has, our next generation will be absolutely separated. It's already at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to manifest that into thought, but it's
Yeah, we
definitely,
will stay
what are
neutral.
they supposed to do? How are they supposed to trust love whenever all they've seen was that love is pain?
Right. And then that's a responsibility on your hand.
Right.
So that's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
The term single mom is now you want to have good companionship, whatever your relationships are, whoever it is you love, you want them to be a valuable love within. So when I say family, that doesn't mean man and woman. It can be man and man, woman and woman. It's the unity of family together.
Yeah.
The support of that unity is what brings a family together.
Yeah.
So that love shows that we can all grow and love each other and support each other. So we have to start making those changes now so that people can see it. Otherwise, it's just going to go through a chaotic breakdown of a system, and then the system's going to be rebuilt.
Right.
And that's a whole different topic altogether.
Yeah, that sounds pretty deep.
Yeah, but that's the spiritual awakening. That's a conscious awareness, growth, and development. Anytime you bring a new system in, you have to have a chaotic breakdown of an old system. It's just the basics of it all. The power of love and light is actually very destructive, because for us to create new, we have to destroy the old way. So those of us who've gone through this great awakening or enlightening went through the most destructive dark times. So I wasn't lying in the street homeless, having seizures, defecating myself and saying, this is just beautiful. I wasn't flatlining and drowning in seizures and concussions and traumatic brain injuries. I wasn't sitting in that pool of the cesspool like, this is just the greatest. Right. I was on my knees. I was fucking crying. I was looking up the stairs. I'm like, why the fuck am I still here? I don't get this. I mean, it was, I wasn't putting a knife in me, but I was killing myself every day. And then I was on the bounds of, if I don't drink, I die. And if I drink or don't drink, I have seizures. So I have to find the few drops I can have that would bring me some normality to release the shakes. Like this, I'm like, which way to die?
Right.
That was my existence. Which way to die?
It's a horrible detox. It's a horrible detox. And I just put a post out about how like they're selling fireballs now right next to the candy at the checkout counters. And I'm like, that's just phenomenal. Like whoever come up with this idea needs to spend 90 days in rehab, period. Like it's ridiculous. And they're like, oh, people are like, oh, it's like not even that big of a deal. But if they knew the detox that it takes, you know, to come off of alcohol, it's like the worst detox. Yeah.
Right.
But if we had never seen it, how do we know, right?
But that's it. I look at them as the most beautiful, loving experiences that have brought me to where I am today. I have no regrets on any of them.
Yeah.
You know? They also allow me to truly understand other people's experiences. When someone's telling me this story, I'm not pretending to understand.
Right.
I can go to a place of deep understanding.
Yeah.
My experiences of what I went through to get here. And people feel that though, they know that. Because it's important.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, more people experience it than not.
Yeah. That's basically how I was awakened to, was that I was brought to a point where it's like I couldn't move forward anymore. It was like I had to either kill myself and die physically, or I had to kill who it was that I was. Like, I just like literally had no choice. There was no more moving. There was no more manipulating the situation. There was no more trying to figure it out. There was no more, I had hit all my reserves. I did everything that I possibly could. And it was just to the point where it's like, all right, so you're either going to die right now physically, or you're going to die to the old person, because you can't do this no more.
That's so what we need to do on all areas of development in our consciousness through all life. So for me to evolve to the next person I want to be, I have to die to this one now.
I like that.
Right. Of course you do. You said it.
No, but I like that was an experience, but to think about, because I always said, like, boy, if I could just have a rebirth like every day.
But you do. That's it. You just hit it. You do. Not if I could. You can.
Yeah.
You do. You have to awaken in imagination. Boom, up here in imagination, floating out. There's energy, ether. It is all around you. And you can pull that into imagination. What do you want to create? And let me rebirth it, meaning I'm going to go from here. This is Mary. She hasn't had anything from, you know what I'm saying. And then she births this idea. That's what it actually means. We're going to bring this idea in, allow it to grow in our subconscious until we manifest that.
Yeah.
So change it, but you have to die to your old ways. Each new idea, I have to bring in a new attitude for that which I am evolving into. Awaken in imagination all the aspects of that attitude. Attitude is a culmination of your thoughts, your feelings, your subconscious mind, and your actions, the physical actions based on the subconscious, which will have an equal and opposite reaction giving you the new results. So when my thoughts, my feelings, and actions are in line, I'm now in something called praxis. I have integrated my belief, my intellectual belief, with my subconscious belief, my behavior. Now my behavior creates my result. So with praxis, I have now changed my results.
That's awesome.
So I have to change the old way, think the new way I want to think it and emotionalize it until it moves the other way out. And that causes a terror barrier. That causes in the nervous system a change, because what you're doing is you have one old way of working stuck in your subconscious, and you're bringing in a new way. So I'm introducing a new way, and there's a conflict. They're going to battle because this way is here and it wants to win. And you're like, no, I'm pushing you out. I am now the new way. So this way had to die inside you, which is an uncomfortable feeling. And then you create the new results. So you have to be willing to go through those changes to rebirth. You have to die to the old way.
Yeah, stop trying to manipulate it. Yeah. I think about, and I think it's important to bring up in this whole video is, like, I think about, there was a point in time where I had my two kids and I was in a size 14 jean, and I was always in a size 3, and all of a sudden I'm in a 14. It was like my biggest fear. And so it took me about a year till finally I was like, I got to fix this. this isn't the body that I want to be in. So I come up with a good diet plan. I exercise like 3 times a day because I didn't want to be one of those people with like the, the skin hanging. And so I made sure I was exercising a lot. And at first I felt like I was starving because I was shrinking my stomach down. So it was painful. And so it was for a full week that I was doing this. And I was counting out my food, making sure, and following these guidelines that I placed upon myself for a full week. And I checked the scale. And whenever I checked the scale, I lost no weight. And I'm like, this seriously? And I was so disappointed. But I think a lot of people at that point are like, I did all that for nothing. You know what I mean? And they quit. And so, but me, I was like, there's no way that I was exercising that much, putting that much effort in, and that my body is doing absolutely nothing right now. So I was like, I'm going to give it another week and then I'm going to check myself. And then after the other week, I ended up losing 10 pounds. So it's like that. It's like a lot of times, like things might even get worse or stay the same. And so then we like back up and we're like, well, I guess that's unattainable then.
Right. So I want to hit on 3 things. So persistence, patience, and faith. You want to have persistence. Stick with it. Just keep moving towards it. Let nothing get in the way. Patience. It will come. Just don't look at the scale anymore. It's not going to change what you're doing. And faith. I'm not going to see the results for a period of time. I'm just going to allow this to occur when it happens. So you talked about a discomfort feeling. Well, you said, I forget exactly what you said, but what happens is when you're going through a change, let's say you're talking about your body like you were, and you're bringing in a dietary change, you could have certain things that would cause an inflammation in the body for a moment as you're secreting what was not healthy for you. Then it has to be released from the body before the body can go into a better healing mode and bring you to what you're expecting to see. So you're doing right things, appearing to get negative results when they're actually cleaning results.
Right.
But you're not thinking that. So then you give up and you go back to your comfort. So the same thing I was talking about earlier when I was collecting the coins together, you're going through a chaotic change, and that vibration causes you confusion. That confusion is discomfort, and you don't want that. You want to run back to safety. Same thing as running back to a drink, running and getting a line, running and getting your baggie. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's just knowing, let me have persistence in my activities. I'm going to think right. I'm going to perform the right. I'm going to make sure my diet's right. I'm going to use terms like release. And then I'm going to have patience. It is going to work out in faith. I know it's going to happen. I just have to continue down this path. And I don't need to keep checking myself. Stop digging the seed up and wondering if it's rooted or not.
Right. Yeah. And that, metaphorically too, that all plays into consciousness as well. It's like, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to come to a point where it's like, I tried this for how long and it's still not working. There was somebody I worked with one time that said to somebody, the change could happen in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. And you might not ever have to deal with that again. You just don't know, but you're trying to give up right before you hit that ending, right before you hit that mass change. Yeah. The why video. You have a why video. Why do you do the things that you do? Do you remember doing that video?
That was back in like 2015, I think. Yeah, that was, well, in consciousness, we're spiritual beings. We live in a physical body and we have an intellect. So the spiritual level is a why level, the what, and then, or the how, and then the what. So what has occurred is on the physical realm. How it has occurred is on a realm slightly above that. And why all things occur is on a higher level, like divine consciousness, being with spirit. So that video is a different conversation, but it's still based on the same understanding. So that video is, what is your why for doing something? So it's an understanding of getting into yourself, going into why am I going to do this? And it can't be for your kids. It's none of those things, because those are external to you, and they're also not you. Your children are not you. Your job is not you. Your community is not you.
I love that.
Understanding internally why you are doing something, and then allowing the why to do the work. If we allow the why to do the work, we don't ever have to be concerned with how. We always want to play with devising a plan,
Yeah.
because it's for conscious awareness. It signifies for the ego realm. Look, I'm doing something to make everyone else happy, which
Checked
is
off the list.
all you're doing. You're providing pleasure to a boss, a spouse, anyone else. You're giving them comfort, saying, oh, I'm working towards this. Here's my plan. So then there's the what, meaning here's the result. So I want the result. What result do I want? Well, I want a result based on how I feel. That's where I changed in my life. I no longer wanted results based on the home, the cars, what my bank accounts, all those things looked like. My became, how did I want to feel? And then why did I want to feel that way? And then I just started awakening that, going to the why, sitting quietly with oneself and awakening that aspect, the spirit of all that is. Because there is a spirit that flows to and through you, and it just is. So if we allow it to do its thing, life is far more enjoyable.
Yeah. I totally agree. I say all the time, it's like whenever I was like spiritually dead, everything was concrete evidence, and everything that was happening was like I was carrying it all on my shoulder. And so I feel like that's way worse than being physically dead. It'd be better to be physically dead than to deal with yourself just totally consumed by the world. But the why factor is, I really like that, how it's like to wake up in the morning and be like, well, why am I gonna do the things that I'm doing today? Like, why do I want these things? And rather than, you know, just getting up and it's like, I got to do this, and this, but actually having a place where, or a direction where it's going. It's like, why am I doing that? To be happy, you know what I mean? To give joy to others, to inspire people, you know, to be a better mother, and all these things, rather than waking up and being like, I really want to accomplish these goals and tasks to make my life better. But it's like, why really? Why? What is that going to do for you internally? I love it.
Yeah, no, it's very important. Why?
Why?
And
So, go ahead.
people look for this big expression. Like when people want to know their purpose, my purpose is simple. It's just to love every moment of the day. That is simply my purpose. I really significant. It's just a little tiny, this is what it is. And that's what I do. If I want to go sit on a bench and just fall in love with that minute, that's what I do. And it brings so much more joy to me. It awakens something within you that allows you to feel on a whole different level. You are no longer bothered by things. You glow absolutely differently.
Right.
And then that's it. It's not your work. Now, when I do like purpose, vision, and goals with people, again, that's on an ego plane. We're very specifically doing a purpose for what they're driving for. But I want them to go to, but what's your purpose for doing that?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I
Yeah.
want to know. What's your purpose for doing that? That's the
Right.
why. But the significance of why means on a spiritual realm, there is a why that every event occurred.
Yeah. I agree.
So that's the significance, the superior significance of why. So again, the video that you saw on why was ego based.
Yeah, I loved it. I was just like, I totally gotta share that out then. Yeah, I really like
Yeah,
that.
no, definitely. But that's the understanding we want to come to.
Yeah.
Like, I work with people say, why do you work on an ego level? I say, well, if I want to teach a person who speaks Spanish English, I have to speak Spanish to them. I have to speak the language they understand.
I love that.
Then I can teach them how to get to where they need to be to make everything effortless.
Right.
So it's, you have to utilize the field in consciousness as a tool that people understand. And then those that are ready to awaken start to awaken.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like look at ego in such a negative way, but
No.
to me, and maybe you might correct me, but to me, I believe that the ego is just everything that's happened to you before today that made a perception as to like where it is that I am today, who I am, where I'm going. But the ego can also be in a positive way. It could like give you your drive and determination. But yeah, so I think people oftentimes take the ego, and you hear like a lot of spiritual videos. I know whenever I first started out my journey, before I really started learning and I was just seeking, it's like kill the ego. um,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, you
so
want to
horrible
understand,
teaching, right?
right? You want to kill what is not valid in that ego thinking.
Yeah,
So
you don't want to
there's
kill the
it,
ego,
right, but it's understanding that you're loving your kids and holding them and playing with them at the park is on an ego level.
right?
You're going to the movies, you're buying them toys is on an ego level. So
Yeah,
love and embrace that.
right,
Like, you don't want to take that away. That's the experiences we're having while here.
right.
So it's utilizing, am I being manipulated correctly in a loving way, or am I being manipulated in an evil way? Because manipulation is a good word.
Right.
If you manipulate clay, you can form the most beautiful vessel with it.
Yeah. If you
People,
manipulate somebody that's angry, you can make them happy.
correct, good, nice. Because you say the word manipulation, a negative connotation comes
Right.
into most people.
Yep.
Like consequence. I say consequence, people think punishment. No,
Right.
there's a consecutive sequence of development after every action that we take.
Yep.
So my thinking, I want to be correct because my thoughts, I'm going to emotionalize. Those emotionalize are going to have consequences,
Hopefully
meaning
positive.
always, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are there ones that aren't? Obviously, because I still have things that have occurred in my life that bring in old vibrations that are
Yeah.
just finally on the rebound. But
Right.
when they come in, I don't have to own them. I can see it coming in, I can detach it and go, oh, well, that was from like 20 years ago. I'm not allowing that to come in, and then I just push it to the side.
Yeah.
I don't get upset by it.
Yeah.
Other people would say, why is that reoccurring in my life? Let it go. Just let it go. Here,
Right.
I'm going to show you how to let something go.
Right. Drop it.
Just it's
You
so
know,
challenging to do.
right.
No, it's not.
I
Just let it
know.
go.
I know. They're like, I can't though.
Yeah, did you
I
see how
can't.
easily I did that?
Yep.
Here's what
I
most
have to take medication because my doctor told me so in order to drop that. Like I have to try to I have to try to grab a hold of outside resources in order to mask that rather than just understanding. There was a doctor had told my daughter that she has PTSD and she's going to have it forever. I was so angry. I was so mad. I was like, no, that's a choice. And she's like, well, how can I choose that whenever all of a sudden I gain this anxiety and I'm throwing up? Well, every time you come up with that thought that's giving you anxiety, you have to replace it and you have to be in that. And that's what you have to do. But yeah, society, a lot of them are walking with their eyes closed. So like,
Right. Well,
I
that's
can't
because
change
that's
that.
paid for.
That's who I am.
Right. And that's programmed information. No, that's not who
Right.
you are. That's who you're continuing to believe and who it is. So you're keeping it alive.
Right.
Yeah. You have to die to that. You have to
Yeah.
let that old way go. That means you have to face it. So when they arise, so I'm a veteran, I deal with lots of veterans and PTSD. So when something reoccurs, we face it and then we change it. We make it into what it is going to be new. And then the old way dies. So what happens is, like if I was using NLP, neuro linguistic programming with someone,
Yeah, that was going through my mind as you were speaking. Go ahead.
right, you reframe something. So when something comes in, we put it in the distance, we color it, we make it funny. And then when it's reintroduced, it no longer has the same effect on the nervous system. But we want to completely let it go altogether. So when it does come into imagination, we either introduce better feelings for it or no emotional connection to it at all. That way, when the memories are going to be reactivated in time, it's impossible for them to not be. So many occurrences happen in our lives. The memory is going to be reactivated. But when the trigger is about to be pulled, we have a space. The trigger is being pulled. I now have the ability to change the ammunition. I don't have to shoot out the old thing that I used to shoot out because I'm in control of this. So now I'm aware that that trigger is about to go off and now I can disarm it. So I'm not controlled by it.
Right.
You have to become aware of what's going on in consciousness. And as you become aware of what's going on in consciousness, you can now play with it and make it the way you want it to be. It does not have to stick. I used to be on medications too. And when I was there, they're like, well, we're going to do your screens and we're going to look at your liver and kidneys and we're going to see that what you're taking here is going to have an effect on your liver in a few years. And we're going to have to put you on something else, meaning an added thing. And that's when I looked at my neurologist and I was like, I'm going to speak to you in a few days. And I went home and I did everything, all my studying I wanted to. And then I went back and I said, I want to talk to you and your team. I'm going to come off the medications. And then we had discussions. I talked to the psychiatrist, psychologist, my neurologist and their team about me coming off the medications and what their beliefs were. And then I was like, all right, I'm coming off it because I believed differently from what they were saying. Like there's an underlying thing. And I'm like, no, you're keeping that alive in me.
Yeah.
And then, but I had to take a risk. I came off I did a proper wean. I didn't do this with ignorance. I did this with understanding.
Yeah.
This wasn't an overnight switch. I took the time. I talked to professionals. I talked to the people I was seeing. So this wasn't something I just ran off saying, I know a better way.
I love how you bring that up because we should, like, there's certain things that we are going to actually, you know what I mean, that we might actually have to take medication for. But there are certain things that create a visualization will actually help inside your body. So at least to not, instead of like, my daughter went to the doctors for anxiety and they're like, well, we're going to put you on anxiety meds. She's never seen me so angry in all of her life. She ended up choosing not to do that. And, but there's like yoga and creative visualization and meditations and yep, and all this stuff. And yeah, so it's like, at least put in this effort on your own, you know what I mean? And then if you can't figure it out, maybe try that if it seems right for you.
Right. All medication you should come off. Now, let me be very clear. When I go to the hospital, if I go in for surgery, I'm gonna let them put me to sleep. I'm
Right,
gonna let them fill me with the drugs.
right,
I'm gonna take the painkillers after the surgeries if it's something I need to take. And I'm gonna take them for the short, brief period of time for comfort if it needs to be taken. Because there is a time period when they're necessary, they're
yeah,
important, they
yeah,
have value, so use them and then release them. Allow God within you to do what it naturally does.
yeah,
Perfect health is your birthright.
yeah,
You are not supposed to have these chemicals in your body.
right.
No. So let it actually work. Use it when it's right. Now, again, if I need something, I will take it. I'm not
Right,
against any of those things. I'm
right,
not saying that. But I currently don't, so that's the way I go about it.
right.
But if I
Nursing
have,
school. Yeah, like
what's that?
nursing school, they actually teach you. They say offer them meditation before you offer them any type of strong pain medication, because the meditation will actually help them more than any medication that we can actually provide them in the ER. In the
Right.
ER.
All chemicals that a pharmaceutical drug is going to introduce to you is already in the brain. It has
Yeah,
the ability to be produced in the body. It just needs to be activated.
activated.
In meditation, you have the ability to activate all of those responses.
That's
And that
incredible.
takes calmness, centeredness, patience, and understanding.
Yeah, it's incredible. So how can people contact you in order to set up an appointment with you?
Well, I use Facebook. Anyone that finds me on Facebook, they can watch me there. If they start following me, they send me messages. You can email me at Derrick LaFrenier or Derrick@DerrickLaFrenier.com. I have a website, but that's a sales page. That's not so people work with me. That's so they can utilize phenomenal products to help coach themselves. I worked with Bob Proctor. He has just passed away, God bless him.
Oh,
So those are phenomenal products that people can use for themselves. But if they want to get in touch with me, Facebook is generally the easiest way to get in contact with me. And we schedule a video conversation. I don't use a website because it's an investment to work with me. I want to know also who I'm going to be working with. And that's the best way for me to weed through people is through a video conversation.
right. All right, well, I appreciate you so much. This is a blessing for real.
Thank you. I appreciate the time and I will speak with you soon.
All right, have a good day. God bless.
All right, you have a blessed, Andrea.
Bye.